This is the BroStorm Sports Podcast. In this week's episode, we give out NBA Preseason awards, NFL takeaways, and as always, recap our best bets. Spoiler, we were 5-1 last week. We talk a little bit about small hands, but somehow didn't get to Nick Saban's height this week. It's a good one. Be sure to subscribe. Welcome into BroStorm Sports. It is Monday, October 24th. We're coming to you for our fourth episode of the BroStorm Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Sasha Bushka. As always, I'm joined by my brother, Scott Bushka. He's wearing a backwards hat tonight, trying to hide some of his dadliness on the podcast. And also joined by Intern P, who somehow also has a backwards hat on. Probably had a few too many shots of Rumplemans tonight. How we doing today, fellas?
Somewhat depressed after that. I have to apologize to you guys. I thought that we here at BroStorm Sports were going to have a perfect week of picks. We're 5-0 going into tonight's Pats Bears game in New England. I made a take it to the bank proclamation that the Pats were going to cover 7.5. They did not come close. I'm very depressed. I'll be BroStorming with Boulevard today as a way to drown my sorrows. Sorry, fellas.
Yeah,
glad to be here with you.
It looked like Bailey Zappi was going to jump in there and save the day for you, but it was short-lived.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Bailey Zappi comes in. They score 14 points in like less than 3 minutes, and then some. I still am very confused how Justin Fields, after not scoring more than 15 points all season, hung 33 on Bill Belichick, but I guess we'll save the complaining for another day.
It felt like the Patriots couldn't ever catch a rhythm. Bears dominated the game on the ground, and pretty much it felt like the Patriots never had the ball in the second half. When they got it, they'd throw a tip ball interception, so on and so forth, yada, yada, yada. You guys saw the game, and we're going to get into our best bets and how we went 5-1 last week and our new bets for next week all later in the show. But another thing happened this week. The NBA season got started off in earnest. So we have a bro source topic to start off the show today. This came from Taylor Cannell in Portland, Oregon, friend of the show. And we're going to start out with some NBA preseason awards. Head nerd of the show came up with some cool ones for us to pick this week. NBA preseason awards. So Scott, I'm going to just turn it over to you. And what are we going to pick first?
Yeah, so we have, I think a multitude of awards we're picking here. These were also bro-sourced. NBA preseason awards, most blatant tank job of the season, most dysfunctional team, Intern P will pick a social media MVP, the Kyrie Irving Award for the worst teammate in a supporting role, and then the Cliff Kingsbury Award for the worst coach of the year. Yes, we're mixing sports there. So I guess we start with the most blatant tank job of the season.
Yeah, it seems like that was at the top of the list. I have a team in mind, and I guess I'll just go first on this one. This is kind of a preseason tank job, and I don't think it has to do with how hard they're going to play on the court, because this team has a history of trying to win games, and it kind of looks like a stupid pick right now because I believe at last glance they're already 3-0 this year. But the Utah Jazz traded away their best two players, plus like their next best supporting role player in Royce O'Neal. Best two players being Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. They very clearly want to get into the sweepstakes for Wembanyama. Did I say that right? Yeah, Wembanyama. And
Intern P is going to fact check that one.
They've got a ton of draft picks, so whether it comes as their own draft pick or somebody else's draft pick that they acquired in one of those trades, it looks like the Utah Jazz are building for the future and could potentially tank this year.
Yeah, I had the same team in the Utah Jazz. I think everyone does. If tanking is not an issue in the NBA this year, it probably should be. Commissioner Silver has actually come out and said he's worried about it because Victor Wembanyama. I believe that's right.
That looks a little better. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, intern P. He's, as we learned last week, I think he's a pronunciation expert. He, by all accounts, is probably the best prospect coming out of the draft since probably LeBron James in 2003. He's 7'3", shoots like KD, and moves like, I don't know, most 6'7", 6'8" power forward. So the belief is that a lot of people might be tanking. I had the Jazz as well. They're 3-0, but Danny Ainge is their GM. And if they win too many more games, he's going to start faking injuries, putting people on time restrictions, doing whatever he can to get that first pick. So I had the same team. It really should be the Lakers, which this is kind of a funny thing. The Lakers are 0-3. Their shooting is absolutely atrocious. I was going to give an award, or I thought we should give an award for the team that's going to set the NBA back at least 50 years in terms of the offense they're running. But the funny thing is that they don't have their first round pick. If they were to lose all their games, their first round pick goes to the New Orleans Pelicans because of the Anthony Davis trade. So they literally can't tank.
So basically, the New Orleans Pelicans are the front runners for Wembanyama without even having to lose games, because the Lakers are pretty bad so far this year.
The Lakers are really bad. I haven't looked up the latest numbers after last night's game, but I think they were something like 17 for 83 shooting three-pointers the first two games of the season, and then they were worse yesterday against the Blazers.
Yeah, I saw a highlight. LeBron James had a pretty sweet logo three with 11 seconds left on the shot clock that didn't even catch net.
Well, that wasn't even the best part of the best part of that game is when Russell Wilson came down. They were up. Russell Wilson. I'm getting Russell Westbrook mixed up with Russell Wilson, but they're effectively at this point the same player. Whether you're talking football or basketball. Westbrook came down with 30 seconds left in the game. They're up one, and instead of taking all the time and trying to get a good shot, he fires a 17-footer, which if you know anything about Westbrook, he's not very good at making 17-footers. Bangs it off the backboard. Dame hits a three. They lose. They're not good.
That I think that's we kind of got the idea on the blatant tank job, and I think we're kind of leading ourselves into the next one. So I'm just going to go there. The next BroStorm preseason award for the NBA is most dysfunctional team, and I'll let you go first on this one, Scott.
Yeah, that's a excellent transition, Sasha. Sasha did not see my notes before this. I had three teams listed: the Nets, which is obvious; the Sixers, which was not obvious, but they're, I believe, 0-3, 3 games into this, and they certainly, I think, have some dysfunction on the horizon. But I'm going with the Lakers here. They've got two superstars, neither of which can really shoot that well right now. They've got a third in Russell Westbrook, who's making $47 million, thinks he's an all-star, wouldn't be good enough to play on most teams, as a bench player on most teams. They don't have a single guy on the team that can shoot. Russell Westbrook and Pat Beverly hate each other. They've got a first-year head coach. I think it's going to get ugly pretty quickly there. The only way out for them is to trade Russell Westbrook, which will probably be easier come the trade deadline just because he's on a $47 million expiring contract. But I think it's going to be pretty ugly before then. And like we talked about, it would actually be okay if they could just shit the bed for the whole year and lose 72 games and get the first pick, which is the generational talent. They don't even have that first pick, so they're going to be searching for ways out. And I think it's going to get worse before it gets better in LA.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I can't help but notice, what is it about that early 2010s Oklahoma City Thunder team that breeds dysfunctionality in 2022? Like, Harden, Westbrook, Durant are all on teams that could be candidates for most dysfunctional team. You mentioned the Sixers, James Harden. You've got Westbrook in the Lakers, and then Durant it's more of the fact that he's on a team that includes Kyrie Irving, so you're always a candidate for most dysfunctional. I'll go in another direction. It's actually breaking news, kind of, because it just happened tonight, and there's not that much not much else has come out about it, so I don't know if it's a big deal, little deal, or no deal. But apparently Jalen Green and Jabari Parker were fighting on the bench tonight for the Houston Rockets, so that could be an interesting foray into their first or their last 2 years top draft picks not liking each other. So we'll see how that one plays out. But since you took the good answer,
are you beating Woj to the punch on this?
Woj might have been the one who told me about it, but I don't think I'm beating anyone to the punch. I saw it as a notification on my phone. So if you have a cell phone, you could have already found out about this. But we might be the first podcast to actually be talking about it.
If we can get it out quick enough tomorrow.
It's a good point. Pearson, you got any dysfunction? I feel like we should let him be in on this a little bit.
Did you mean Jabari Smith there? You said Jabari Parker. I didn't think he was in the league. Smith. Okay, I just wanted to
what we have
clarify.
Here for Pearson.
I heard that and I was like, Jabari Parker's washed. So
yeah, I'd be very surprised if he's even on a team still. Is he?
I'm looking him up right now. I don't see it.
I think we bring intern P in his area of expertise for the next award, which is the NBA social media MVP for the 2022-2023 season. Who you got, intern P?
I got Kevin Durant with all of his burners. Not his actual account, but I think that dude has like 6 Twitter burners that he just chirps everybody on. I love it. I love the confidence that he has with that.
Yeah,
but his actual Twitter's whatever, but his burners are electric if you can find them.
Do you think he is the most sensitive superstar to what fans say about him that we've had in the history of sports?
I mean, he's just in the forefront. He was so good from the time he started, and I just think he let that get it to his head. That's all. I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, who else on the top of your head can you think of, just in general?
Scottie Pippen.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true.
Dude, if Scottie Pippen would have played in this era, I don't know if him and Jordan would have lasted.
Scottie Pippen has been going increasingly spiraling downhill. Yeah, the social media era would not have been good for Scottie Pippen. Do you know, do you know if KD is single? And if so, has he been attempting to slide into Giselle's DMs?
No, but there was rumors that he was with like Lana Rhoades. I don't know if you know who that is, but she's pretty famous on the interwebs. Okay, you maybe look it up on your private browser on your phone.
Like not on my work computer.
Yeah, not on your work computer, but
that was, by the way, the most Gen Z analysis ever. That the fact that Kevin Durant has 6 burner accounts makes him confident.
I don't even know what that means. I didn't understand most of that.
Everyone knows he has burners, but he doesn't care, and I love it.
I bet you most of his burners get, like, people who really follow NBA Twitter probably just address his burner accounts as, "Hey Kevin, what's going on?" Because they know. Nodding in approval. I'll take it.
Sorry,
I've reached my social media expertise and/or analysis.
All right, next award, we've got the Kyrie Irving Award for the worst teammate in a supporting role.
I just want to be clear. You cannot choose the person who the award is named after, correct?
I mean, I feel like some people win awards that have their name on them, but we'll say no for this case.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like Kyrie should be off the table because it's kind of like how Jokic has won the MVP 2 years in a row. You can't win in the third year. Like Kyrie's the reigning worst teammate in a supporting role winner. So I'm going to go in another direction. I had 3 names, Russell Westbrook, DeAndre Ayton, which is probably not fair. Although I just feel like his relationship, I just feel like he's going to get sour quickly in Phoenix and things are going to go south there. Things between him and Monty Williams are not well. And then the third one is Draymond Green, solely because you really shouldn't be knocking out your teammates in practice as a general rule. But I'm going to go with Russell Westbrook, largely because he's not good anymore. He still thinks he's good. He's such a narcissist that even when they're up one, he's firing up 17-footers with 20 seconds left on the shot clock as the game runs down. And I just don't think Westbrook is out for Russell Westbrook. And as we've already discussed, I think it's going to lead to a lot of dysfunction. So I'm going with Russell Westbrook.
I can't really disagree with that. Like, I feel like Kyrie Irving and Russell Westbrook are pretty much neck and neck for having this award named after them. I do disagree with the other two that you said, though. I don't think anyone on the Warriors. I realize that Draymond Green probably shouldn't have punched the lights out of his teammate. As much as Steve Kerr does love getting his own lights punched out and maybe loves seeing it on the court. But I don't think anyone on the Warriors would say that Draymond Green's a bad teammate if you asked them. I just don't think there's that sentiment there. Ayton, he got put in a tough spot because they basically wanted him out of town and then only signed him because they had to because they couldn't let him walk for nothing. So until he shows that he's going to do something to make himself a bad teammate, I'm not going to put that label on him at this point. Now, if he can't get along with Monty Williams, then yeah, maybe it ends up that way. But I would say Westbrook is the fairly obvious choice there. Interesting question. Who's if Russell Westbrook and Pat Beverly end up going to fisticuffs and killing each other on the court, who's more important to the Lakers? Because I'm not a Pat Beverly guy either.
I mean, I think without question, and I don't know, I watched actually the first couple of their games this year. I think without question that answer is Pat Beverly. And the reason is because he can still defend, and they're a substantially better defensive team when he's on the court. They also don't have another point guard.
Yeah. So I don't disagree with you. The reason I asked the question is it's crazy. 3 years ago, if you would have said who's going to be more valuable to a team, Patrick Beverly or Russell Westbrook, and the answer was Patrick Beverly, people would have thought it was a crazy world we live in. So it's how the mighty have fallen with Russell Westbrook. Intern Pete, You got anything to add about worst teammates?
No, but I think that they should send Russell Westbrook back to the Thunder. He should go back to OKC this year. They're tanking. He can do whatever he wants there. One last hoorah for the fans.
Because he's the ultimate mentor for your young players. So
he's not a great idea. I don't know. I think it would be. I mean, they need losses, dude. They're going for Wembanyama. They want him.
Start the development of Josh Giddey. That's a great idea.
Yeah, he's gonna be so good, dude.
You're right that they need losses. I think if you bring Westbrook in, he'd get you 3 wins by scoring 47 points that you didn't want. And yeah, shits on all your young guys to the point that they want to leave.
Yeah, right. So he is the worst teammate.
We've beat the dead Russell Westbrook long enough. Let's go on to the next award. This is a good one. Cliff Kingsbury Award for the worst coach of the year.
I really like that Cliff Kingsbury is so bad that we're crossing over sports form here. I'll go first here. I think it's going to be Doc Rivers. I think he's got one of the best rosters in the league, and he's going to somehow manage to finish 7th or 8th in the Eastern Conference. I'm not sure he makes it the whole season if things keep going the way that they do. I will say I've got my eye on Steve Nash, just because I don't think he's been great in either of the years that he's there. So I got my eye on him. And I want to make an honorable mention to Ime Udoka just for not being there for his team the entire year. I don't know if he's eligible, but he at least deserves the mention.
Yeah, that's fair. So I was going through a list of the NBA coaches, kind of trying to figure out who I wanted to say on this. And it seems like every NBA coach is either a proven winner who's like won a championship or won a lot of games in the NBA, or is too soon to tell, like either a first-year coach or they've only coached a team that's intentionally been tanking. So it's really hard to label someone as like Cliff Kingsbury bad. And as I go through the list, like I saw the name Mike Brown. And then I went on
I like that.
I went on to his record on Wikipedia, and he's got like an over 600 winning percentage as a head coach. But he's essentially only coached teams that had LeBron James on them.
Right.
So I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to go with Mike Brown. He's coaching the Kings, I believe, Sacramento Kings. No one's been successful there. He's just been kind of like riding the coattails of anyone who coaches for Steve Kerr now essentially gets another head coaching job at some point, and Mike Brown accomplished that feat. And I don't think he's going to do anything with the Kings. So I'll just go Mike Brown for worst coach of the year.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's a relatively safe bet. Sasha, I wonder if, because we're running a little long here, it's probably my fault. We did have some serious awards. I wonder if we just try to run through those relatively quickly. See if we can get the people some halfway real analysis.
Yeah, sure. Breakout player of the year. I've got Josh Giddey. I'll just give you all three of mine. I got Josh Giddey for breakout player of the year. Chet Holmgren is not playing out the whole year. They're going to need somebody to give them some kind of punch. They might be trying to lose games, but on an NBA team, always someone's going to score and put up numbers. Josh Giddey's basically their team. Most surprising team of the year. I put the Cleveland Cavaliers, although I don't know how surprising it'll be to people that they're good, but I think they're going to be pretty good. And championship picks, it's pretty boring. I almost went Denver Nuggets as like a non-boring pick with getting some of their players back from injury, but I went Warriors over Bucks. So nothing to write home about there.
Yeah. I can't argue with any of that. I couldn't really come out with a good name for breakout player of the year. Giddey's a really good one. The name that kept coming to my mind was Paolo Banchero. But I don't even know if that counts, like as a rookie, number one overall pick who everyone knows is going to be good. So that's kind of a bullshit answer. Josh Giddey's much better. My most surprising team of the year, you're going to call it a homer team, but I had the Blazers. They're 3-0. It seems like the work they did in the offseason with Grant and Shaden Sharp, both who are playing really well, and they re-signed Anthony Simons. Seems like they have a pretty good squad together. They're 3-0, so I'm going with the Blazers. And then I also had unexciting, but I just kept looking at it, and I had the Warriors and the Bucks in the finals. I'm going to take Bucks over Warriors. But I was the same as you in the Eastern Conference. Like, I don't trust the Celtics just because they have a first-year, 34-year-old head coach. Sixers are a debacle. Heat, no. And Nets, like we've already talked about. And then in the West, like I could talk myself into Denver. I could talk myself into the Grizzlies, but I just think they're both probably a piece away. And the Suns and Mavs both took a step backwards. So, yeah, I got Bucks over Warriors.
Nice. Pete, you got a championship pick?
Yeah, but my breakout player of the year is Herb Jones of the New Orleans Pelicans. He's a defensive wizard out there. I think he's like 6'10", just raw athleticism. I think he's going to get his game going in the offense. So, and then my most surprising team. I don't know. You stumped me on that one. I don't know. Do you know?
Alabama, right?
Yeah, I should have known that. But my most surprising team, I'm going to go with the Pelicans because they got Zion back. Herb Jones, Zion Williamson, and Brandon Ingram. And they have CJ McCollum still. So I think they're going to be dark horses this year.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And then I had the championship as the Nuggets and the 76ers. I think Joel Embiid and James Harden together are going to get it. They're going to start clicking.
You think Doc Rivers is a good coach?
He was like 12 years ago when the Celtics were good, but he hasn't done anything since. So, no, I would say no right now.
It's kind of like when Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers were good at playing QB.
They're still good. Well, not Tom Brady. He's washed.
Yeah. We might have a Rogerless and Bradyless NFL next year, which leads me into my next point. We're going to go to break. This segment was brought to you by Hi-Fi Productions. On the other side of the break, we're going to get into our bread and butter. Are Rodgers and Brady washed up in the NFL takeaways in general? Stay with us. Welcome back into BroStorm Sports. We're going to get you some NFL takeaways in this next segment. But beforehand, as Scott and I tend to do when Intern P talks, we both kind of zoned out when he was giving his NBA championship picks. Didn't realize he didn't give us a winner. So, P, you had the Nuggets and 76ers. Who do you got winning?
I got the Nuggets. I'm taking the big Quesarito, Nikola Jokic. He's going to have an amazing year.
The big Quesarito.
Yeah,
can you explain that nickname?
When he got drafted, it was a commercial. They didn't even show him on TV. It was a Taco Bell commercial. So they call him the big Quesarito.
Did you?
That's incredible. That's incredible that Jokic got beat out by a Taco Bell commercial.
Have you guys happened to see the creepy ass Russell Wilson Subway commercials?
Yes, they're very appalling, to say the least.
Dude, Russell Wilson might be he's definitely my least favorite. I know we're not giving out NFL awards. He's definitely my least favorite NFL player. And apparently all of his teammates' least favorite teammate.
I would say your hate for Russell Wilson sounds pretty unlimited.
Speaking of not paying attention to Intern P, I did learn an interesting thing in preparation for this show, which is that Sasha does the printing for Intern P. Usually, typically the intern does all the printing, but it turns out in this relationship, Sasha prints out the show notes and takes them down to Intern P's desk, which I thought was weird.
I do most of the coffee making as well. It's a bit of role reversal.
I feel like we might need to. Did we write a formal job description for Intern P?
We might need him to resubmit his application at this point.
Yeah, I can do that. I can whip it up for you. I'm proficient in Microsoft Excel, so that's pretty good for you.
Define proficient. We don't want to spend too much time on this. If you've ever seen Scott in Excel, I don't think you'd think you were proficient anymore.
I can open it. I know how to open it.
I did like that it sounds like we have our first official sponsor. No disrespect to Fonzie Castillo, friend of the program, but Hi-Fi Productions coming in hot. I mean, still working on BroStorm with Boulevard, but it's a good first step for the program.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the topic of spreadsheets, just a little teaser for later. Scott did make a super nerdy spreadsheet for our best bets segment, and we went 5-1 this week.
Yeah,
fair enough. NFL takeaways.
All right. I didn't pull a bunch of stats this week. Actually on purpose because our Nerd Wallet sponsorship didn't come through. But I'm gonna play a little bit off of what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. I would say so. Last year, the one glaring difference between the two conferences, NFC and AFC, was that in the AFC you had all these young quarterbacks: Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and it feels like all of them came of age, kind of like when AFC teams were trying to figure out how to compete with Tom Brady and drafting young quarterbacks. And then in the NFC, you had all the old guys, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, at the time, Matt Ryan. And so there was a really big difference between the age of quarterbacks last year. And it brings me into the way I was thinking about games coming out of this weekend is the AFC is starting to make a lot of sense to me. We saw, so the Bills were off, right? But the Bills are 5-1. Everyone feels like they're the best team in the league. We saw the Chiefs hammer the 49ers. We saw the Bengals, shout out to intern Pete's pick, but we saw the Bengals hammer the Falcons. And we saw the Ravens beat the Browns. I kind of feel like the top of the AFC looks pretty clear to me. You got Bills, Chiefs, Bengals, Ravens, and they all have good quarterbacks. There's no weird shit happening, right? Like Taylor Heineke beating anyone, even Bailey Zappi last tonight. So you got Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. All's right with the AFC, and I think it's because they have players of normal age. In the NFC, we talked about it last week. Age is catching up with the NFL, but things are still haywire. The one good team we know, the Eagles, they were off this week, right? So we're not going to talk about them. But man, Brady looks bad. Rodgers looks bad. I cannot. And yes, I'm angry at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because I had a 4-team money line parlay with the Chiefs, Raiders, Cowboys, and Bucks, and all the Bucks had to do was not lose to the Panthers, right?
Weren't they 13-point favorites?
Yeah, 13-point favorites. It just makes no sense to me. But the only thing I can think of is like they're like I think both of them should be you call it. Both of them should be out of the league next year. The Buccaneers look terrible and the Packers look even worse. So that's kind of my takeaway is like get your young quarterback and get them now so you can so things can be normal in the NFL because in the AFC they are, in the NFC they're still not.
Yeah, it's the Brady thing's really interesting because I was talking about this earlier today, and it sounds really simplistic and almost stupid to say, but the only way to go out on top is to go out on top. Meaning, like, if you stick around long enough, you're always going to go out as a washed version of yourself. And with Tom Brady, like, he had a chance a couple of years ago to go out as a Super Bowl champ. He didn't. He had a chance last year to go out as, like, a high-end playoff team that lost a tough game to the Rams as Scott opens a boulevard. And he didn't. And now, like, he's eventually going to be washed. Like the only guy I can think of that was like completely beyond his usefulness that still somehow went out on top was Peyton Manning, because like his tank was emptied, but he still somehow won a Super Bowl as last year. But he was just in an incredible situation around him, and he found a way to do it. And I don't hold that against Peyton Manning, because how many times was he the best quarterback in the league and his defense sucked? So I'll let him have his second Super Bowl. But that's what we're seeing with Brady. I think like eventually everybody, their skills deplete, and he's 45 years old. Rodgers, I think, is a completely different situation. Rodgers just, I don't think like really wants to play football anymore, and I don't think you're going to see him like hanging around until his skills deplete. And I think there's a world we live in where there is no Brady, no Rodgers, and at this point maybe no Matt Ryan next year. Like, if your team has made the decision that Sam Ehlinger is going to be their starting quarterback in lieu of you, it might be time to hang him up as well. So, and then you look at retirements from the last couple of years, Breeze, Roethlisberger, Rivers, there's a whole generation that's going to be gone maybe by next year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've been talking about the Brady cliff for at least 7 years now, right? Like I can remember back in when they beat the Chiefs in the like Mahomes' first year starting in the AFC Championship game, in overtime. Like people were like early on in that year, people are talking about how like every single year Brady's got to fall off a cliff, and he just never did. So I think now the fact that it's happening, it's kind of shocking to us.
Yeah,
I will say that I think what's going on in Tampa Bay is an example of where coaching really matters, right? Because they wanted Bruce Arians out. He clearly was like doing some work to hold Tom Brady accountable, and he's also a really good offensive mind. You bring Todd Bowles in, and it's kind of falling apart. I hate to use this. So you got Byron Leftwich as the offensive coordinator. Clearly, Bruce Arians in partnership with him made a big difference there. And I think it's a very similar analogy to what the Chiefs have going on. Is like Andy Reid is clearly an offensive genius, right? Like, I think if you took Andy Reid away, Bieniemy would probably struggle. And so coaching is really important. I think the Bucks are finding that out firsthand. You brought it up, but the Packers is just weird. Like, I get it, he lost his best receiver. Like, so did Mahomes, so did the Chiefs. Like, it doesn't. You still shouldn't be losing to the Jets, the Giants, and the Commanders 3 weeks in a row. And literally, like, you can't move the ball at all, and you can't throw a good ball to your receiver. So it just the Packers one's kind of confusing to me.
Yeah, and on the Brady Cliff thing, it goes all the way back to when Alex Smith was still starting for the Chiefs, and they beat him like really bad on a Monday night. I believe Kareem Hunt's first year, and everyone was like, "Is Brady done?" Ended up going to the Super Bowl that year, anyways, and has won like 4 Super Bowls since then. So everybody was wrong, but the Arians point is a really good one. It's beyond the offensive genius side of things, too. I think the other point that you made is the bigger one, which is who's holding Tom Brady accountable. Like, does Arians let him leave for 11 days during training camp? Does Arians let him go to Robert Kraft's wedding? I don't know. Like, Arians didn't seem to have, like, a Tom Brady worship syndrome, and he was willing to tell him what he needed to tell him. And I feel like that might not be the case in Tampa Bay right now.
I do feel like we should have intern P reach out to NerdWallet and some of the advanced metrics experts here and figure out if there's any correlation with like relationship issues and aging quarterback play. Because there's something fishy with the Brady Giselle situation, with Aaron Rodgers' relationship ending this summer. They both seem very flustered. So I wouldn't have thought that'd be such a big deal, but I feel like we need to have someone look into it.
Can you handle that, intern P?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. I actually don't even know what NerdWallet is, so I'm looking that up right now. What is that? I think I'm aging myself here because I've never even heard of it. I've heard you guys talk about it, but
I mean, essentially, it's just the place that tells you what credit card to get. But it's also a fun thing to say Scott's angling for a sponsorship from.
Chase Freedom Unlimited?
I do think Google would tell you what NerdWallet was. It's neither here
I'm
nor
on
there.
it right now.
Just reach out.
No,
All
it's
right.
fun.
Scott, do you have any other takeaways from the NFL? Because we went kind of long on the NBA stuff. So if you don't have anything else, I feel like we can get into best bets pretty soon.
My last one was that my favorite moment of the week happened on Thursday with Kyler Murray, like profusely yelling at Cliff Kingsbury. I feel like we have to make fun of the Cardinals every week because they give us really good content. And yeah, I don't know if you saw that, but Kyler Murray was yelling at Cliff Kingsbury like he was a combination of his dad and or his son. That is clearly not a healthy relationship. They won, but only because Andy Dalton somehow threw 2 pick sixes. So
yeah.
Anyways, that was fun.
That was like my takeaway from that game is somehow the Cardinals managed to trick everybody into thinking they're good again. But essentially they just got 2 pick sixes in the last 2 minutes of the first half, and they were playing Andy Dalton, so there's no way he was going to bring the Saints back from 2 scores down.
Yeah. Also, Kenny Pickett's small hands, clearly not good for throwing to his own players.
Yeah.
He's young. He'll figure it out.
More.
He'll figure it out. I like him. I think he's going to be good.
Thanks.
I don't know.
Stunning analysis there.
It's funny because we make fun of the small hands, and I'll get us out of here on this, but like a lot of this, he throws balls that flutter out often out of his 2 gloves. So
I'm serious about the small hands.
I know you're
Fair
very
enough.
passionate about it. I like it.
Speaking of small hands, 2 people on this set were perfect in their bets last week. One guy who probably has smaller hands than Kenny Pickett screwed the pooch with his Monday night pick. We'll find out who on the other side of the break. Welcome back into BroStorm Sports, where we make picks and make you money. And that brings us into our best bets segment for the week. We're going to give Pearson 3 picks this week to make up for me disqualifying his beer pong championship win with Scott earlier in the week, but I do have it on good authority that Pearson was playing some more beer pong this weekend and did quite well, got quite cocky, but I'm still not going to give him any victories for that. So before we get into our picks this week, Scott's going to give us a little recap on how last week went down.
I have it on good authority that a frequently attended establishment, Emerson Biggins on the west side of Wichita, hosted a few Chiefs fans yesterday, gave out shots for every Chiefs touchdown. The Chiefs scored 44 points against the Niners. That's maybe why intern P is moving a little slow today. Is that accurate, Sasha?
That sounds accurate. I think you use the term gave out loosely, like Sasha bought shots from them every time the Chiefs scored a touchdown and intern P took them. But yes, everything else in that sense was
thought they were free.
No, I'm sorry. I told you in the break, you probably thought I said free. They were $3 shots.
Three. Got it.
Basically
$3 shots, but Sasha's still paying for intern P's drinks.
Yes, he is. Hey, I just don't have any money, dude. If I did, I'd buy him.
Intern P seems to be negotiating his salary on air. Are we going to allow that?
Yeah, nope. Moving on. All right. So it's a very proud week at BroStorm Sports. We started off our picks slow. I think the first week that we did this, we went 1-5 or 1-4. We were 5-1 this week. And if Bailey Zappi and Bill Belichick wouldn't have screwed me tonight, we would have been 6-0. So just a quick rundown. Sasha's right. I did build a spreadsheet to track all of our picks for the season. So quick rundown of how we did. Sasha was 2-0. He picked the Commanders to cover 5.5 against the Packers. The Commanders won outright. He picked the Chiefs to cover 3 against San Francisco. Chiefs won 44-23 in a landslide. Intern P, although 1-4 coming into the week, also won both of his game picks. So he picked the Jets +3 against the Broncos. The Jets won that outright. And he picked the Bengals -6 against the Falcons, who had been 6-0 against the spread going into this week. I will just tell you, in continued form of me being an idiot, I decided to fade intern's pick from my own personal account this week. I took the Falcons to cover 6.5. They did not. And then I was 1-1. I took the Jets Broncos under, which was at 42.5. Once Russell Wilson did not start, it went down to 39. They still went way, way under that. So won that pick. And then I picked the Patriots to cover 7.5 against the Bears tonight. And they lost miserably. So that puts us at 5-1 as a team on the week. Overall for the year, Sasha's 6-2. So if you were to bet with Sasha, and again, I think last week you said you'd made people hundreds of thousands of dollars. You'd be doing pretty damn good. I am 3-5 on the year, and then intern P is 3-4. So I think that puts me in last place.
Yeah, we'll get P back to an even number this week. I feel like I'm moving some lines in Vegas with my picks now, so I have to be very careful how I do this. As a matter of fact,
enough people listening to us at this point.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure I said that Broncos Jets line was going to move at the time that Pearson made the pick, and it ended up as a pick 'em. Now, granted, that included Russell Wilson not playing, but that honestly should have moved it in the Broncos' favor a little bit. So the fact that it ended up as a pick 'em, I was right about that as well. But who wants to go first this week?
Congratulations. I'd say intern P.
All right, I'll go first. Sounds good. So for my first pick, I'm going back to the Bengals, -3 at the Browns. I think they looked really, really good. I think Joe Burrow is just going to sling it around this next week as he's been doing. I think I said it last week, but the Super Bowl hangover is over. I mean, they're looking very, very solid this year. And then my second pick is going to be the Ravens at the Bucks. Ravens -2. The Bucks, we all saw it, did not look good. Tom Brady's washed. Lamar, he's playing well as well. He's very quick, and I like him. And then for my last pick, it's going to be Vikings, Cardinals, Vikings minus 3.5. I know you hate Cliff Kingsbury, which is fine, so I know you love this pick. The Vikings might win by 7, actually. Maybe 14. I don't know. But Vikings minus 3.5.
I'm extremely torn because I also hate Kirk Cousins.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
But they're 5-1. I also am wondering if you said Tom Brady is washed to Giselle when you're trying to DM her, or
I've been chirping her, but she still hasn't got back to me yet. So
what is whoa. What does chirping mean?
Just like a bird, you know how they chirp? Like it's like
is that a thing? Is it
yeah, it's
Twitter?
like no, it's just a chirp. I chirp people all the time. Just our friend Roman does too. He was getting electric with it. But yeah, chirping's you should learn it. It's fun. It's really fun to chirp.
Does it apply if you're married with 3 kids?
What?
Does it apply if you're married with 3 kids?
Yes, dude. Anybody can chirp.
Anyone can
You need
chirp.
to put that in your bag. You need to get that in your repertoire.
Okay.
I'll tell you who chirps a lot.
We got a new BroStormer, Jake. Jake, make sure you got that one. Anyone can chirp.
Antonio Brown. That's how you get Giselle Pearson. Tell her you're personal friends with Antonio Brown.
I'll hit him up too. His DMs are pretty open, so
He will reply to you.
He's got nothing to do with tweet.
he might reply.
I wanted to quote some of Antonio Brown's tweets this week, but I don't think we'd have to mark our content explicit, so I think I'll refrain.
Good idea. Scott, do you want to see? I've got some picks in mind, but I'm going to try to not pick any of the games that you guys pick. So, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't see a ton of stuff that I was really excited about this week, mostly because there's a lot of division games, and I never trust betting on division games with close lines that much. I was also intern P looking at the Ravens Bucks, but like it being on Thursday night, really, I don't know. It's a bit of a wild card, and Tom Brady being a home underdog with them in a bit of a desperate situation just makes me a little bit nervous. So I couldn't get there. I'm actually gonna bet both of mine on overs and unders this week. So I'm gonna you guys are gonna love this. I'm going the Lunder down under.
Let's go. It's back.
Bring it.
Lunder.
That's the Lunder, LOUNDR. Bringing it back. The Broncos have really not failed me yet on taking the under. So Broncos are playing the Jags in London. The over-under is set at 39 on DraftKings last time I looked. I did this last week. I'm going to do it again. 6 of the 7 Broncos games have gone under this year. Let me just read you the totals for both teams in those games. 33, 35, 21, 21, 35 in overtime against the Chargers, and 25. So they're really good at going under. Brett Rippon most likely will be under center again, but it doesn't matter. It will go under if Russell Wilson's under center. And their defense is really good. I think teams are averaging like 15 points a game against them, and they're still 2-5. So I'm taking Broncos at Jags under.
Okay. You know who's dead worst in red zone offense this year in the NFL?
Who's that?
Broncos.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is an underrated stat because like every NFL team can move the ball between the 20s. It's all about punching it in.
For sure. This is a couple weeks ago at this point, but I think I told you that I think after that Colts game, Russell Wilson was 2 for 18 passing in the red zone. I blacked out during that game because intern P was whooping my ass in beer pong, but I still remember that.
Sorry, I know you feel bad. When you come back, you can get your redemption.
Yeah, I will.
That was the upset of the year.
All right,
Scott being the first one on the podcast to black out.
All right,
Yeah,
moving.
that's
I
true.
don't. I think I'm just the only one open enough to talk about it. Moving on. Next one I'm taking is Raiders at Saints, and I'm taking the over 48.5. So you have to go back 4 games for one of these teams not to have blown through the over. So let me read you the Saints totals for the last 4 games. 76 points, 56, 71, and 53. And then the Raiders totals for the last 4 games, 58, 59, 55, 46. The Raiders offense is good. They move the ball against pretty much anyone. They played the Texans this week and scored 38 points. The Texans held the Jaguars to 9 points 2 weeks ago. So the Raiders always score a lot of points. The Saints defense is pretty atrocious. Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston, it really doesn't matter. They're both sure to throw a couple pick sixes, but they can also both move the ball and have good receivers, good weapons. And so I'm going over Raiders Saints over 48.5.
All right, Scott's got
Raiders are already
Raiders
at 47 and a
Saints
half. 47 and a half now it closed. I just checked. I'm putting them all in a parlay to see if we
I'll
can
take
get
it at
some real
47
money.
and a half.
Get some real money going.
All right, I got some picks. So the first 2 games,
A lot of pressure, Sasha.
Yeah, I know. I'll be all right. The first 2 games that jumped out at me, I feel like are unfair to take because these are the lines going into the night, and it was the 2 teams that were involved in Monday night tonight. So, like, Patriots at Jets had Patriots minus 2.5, and I'm assuming after the way the Patriots look tonight, like that line's definitely going to move, although Breece Hall's out for the Jets, which is a big hit. So I would definitely take the Jets in that. And then Bears at Cowboys. The Cowboys are 10.5-point favorites, but the Bears looked a lot better tonight. But I'm going to leave those 2 games out of it because I'm assuming the lines are going to change quite a bit after one more result tonight. So I'll go elsewhere. I'm going to go with the Niners in a bounce back. The Niners had the best scoring and yards per game defense in the league, or I think best scoring and second in yards per game going into that Chiefs game. And the Chiefs just embarrassed them, and I think their defensive line is going to want to get out for revenge. The Rams have had a lot of O-line problems this year. Noteboom hasn't been quite the fill-in for Whitworth that they were expecting. The Rams' offense hasn't looked good. Cooper Kupp's basically their only weapon. Cam Akers is on his way out of town. So what can their running game do? The Niners are only 1.5 favorites over the Rams, although Rams coming off a bye scares me a little. But I'll go with the Niners there. And I'm going to go back. It's the upset of the year that I'm going 2 weeks in a row to the Commanders well. But I think the Commanders are better with Taylor Heineke playing quarterback than Carson Wentz, to be honest.
I think you're right.
And they're 3-point dogs at the Colts, who now officially have Sam Ehlinger as their quarterback, and have looked fairly pedestrian throughout the year. Colts are 3-point favorites, so I'll go Commanders +3 to beat the Colts in the Commanders-Colts. So I got Commanders and Niners. Feel free to make fun of me.
I thought a lot about. Sorry, go ahead, Interim P.
You're good.
I was just saying, I thought a lot about that Rams-Niners game. I actually was thinking about the other side with the Rams coming off a bye and being in a little bit desperate situation. But I think the Niners are in the same spot, and they tend to have the Rams number. So
Yeah.
I like it. Colts Commanders, I would just worry about the 1-game energy bump of having Sam Ehlinger starting, like similar to what the Commanders got last week.
To be clear, I'll be putting a lot of blind bid dollars on Sam Ehlinger in my Superflex league tomorrow. So,
as we've learned, your quarterbacks are really good in your Superflex league. How'd Jacoby do for you this week?
yeah, about 10. About 10. He got the start.
Well, you're 6-2, so I can make fun of you as much as I want. the listening public is making cash off of Sasha.
All righty. We're getting a little long in the tooth here. So, Scott, if you got a couple quick hitters for us in the sports world, give them to us, and then we're going to get out of here and let you guys get on with your lives.
Yeah, I think the only thing we didn't talk about is one, NFL trade deadline is approaching. I think it's November 1st. We'll hit that in more detail next week when we're recording on Halloween after the kids go to bed. But some big trades, Christian McCaffrey to the Niners, James Robinson to where'd he go?
The Jets.
James
to
Robinson
Brees
to the
Hall.
Jets after Brees Hall injury. So there'll probably be a little bit more action this week on the trade deadline. And then baseball's happening. The NLCS and the ALCS are both over. They were uneventful. I'm not sure anyone watched, but the Yankees got swept by the Astros, and Jesus, the Phillies. I'm blanking on who the Phillies
Padres.
beat.
They played the Padres.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut that out. I look like a real dumbass. The Phillies beat the Padres. Maybe too many boulevards. Phillies beat the Padres. No one's paying attention to baseball. It's quite sad. But yeah, I'm sure we'll talk World Series over the next couple weeks.
Absolutely. Hopefully some more state of baseball conversations coming your way in the very near future. We got some big things coming out on our social platforms. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're going to be doing some big things in the coming weeks on those, so make sure you give us a follow. If you've listened this long, you heard something you liked, get on your Spotify, your Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Give us a 5-star review. We appreciate you listening. Until next time, this has been BroStorm Sports.